I am the Lord, and there is none else. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Take no thought for your life. Hear it not as far-off pronouncement, but as living word, alive in the very place where you are breathing. Closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet, the Eternal speaks, be still and know. Yes, be still, know. Now, beloved, let us tell the truth about the ache that has been clutching at the ribs and crowding the nights, the fatigue of trying to hold the sky up with our two small hands, the endless push to secure safety by more plans, more performance, to gather approval like dry leaves, to bend supply and outcomes by tense thinking, anxious prayer, mental toil. You know this push? Oh, I know it too in the old way, the shoulders rising, the jaw setting, the heart bargaining. If I try a little harder, perhaps then peace will come. But hear me gently, peace does not come at the end of push. Peace is the avenue by which the works appear. So we ask a plain question: how do you stop pushing and yet see life harmonize? How does the bill get paid, the child guided, the body quieted when you lay down the oars? What if the boat stops? What if the current carries you where you do not wish to go? These fears are old companions, but they are not truthful guides. For the Master said, I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. The Christ does not strive, it rests, and the works appear. God, God, God. God, the only power of the universe. Only power. If there is only one, there is nothing against you to fight, nothing outside you to persuade, no law of lack to outthink. I, in the midst of you, am mighty. And if that be true, and it is, then what is our part? It is not to push the river, nor to bargain with heaven, but to enter the quiet where grace is already flowering. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Do you hear the order? Return, rest, quietness, confidence, then strength. Not the other way around. This hour is not another gust of motivation, not a holy caffeine to keep the strain going. No. It is a reset, a button your heart can press in the midst of Tuesday's noise, a simple, repeatable turning from pushing to presence. We shall not force results. We shall not measure progress by the yardstick of human striving. We are going to learn how to stop, how to listen, how to let I within do what it forever does. Take no thought for your life. Take thought for God. And as we do, you will discover that life in ways quiet and untheatrical begins to harmonize without your push, because the one who never left has quietly taken his rightful place as doer, as order, as sufficiency. Be still and know. Then watch the works appear. Now, could you just for a moment say the word I slowly and then be still, a breath? Say it again, not as a label for your name, not as a badge for your history, but simply as the sound that rises from within itself. I let it echo without pushing. Let it stand where it stands. Now be quiet a moment. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. What is this I that you have just voiced? Not the anxious actor in the marketplace, not the one who measures worth by to-do lists and applause. No, before your schooling and your sorrows, before the calendar and the clock, the I that is, I am, was present. Before Abraham was, I am. Do you feel it? Not a person among persons, but presence as your very being. I, in the midst of you, am mighty. The capitalized I is deity within, closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. It is the Lord that made thee and formed thee from the womb. I girded thee, though thou hast not known me. And now we are coming to know. The personal me strives. The me sets alarms, hurries, defends, compares, and grows tired. The me is always almost there, almost safe, almost enough, but the indwelling I witnesses and performs. The I does not hurry, the I does not bargain, the I rests in itself, and by resting reveals order. It is the Father within me, he doeth the works. When we say I and mean the one, doing ceases to be strain and becomes expression. To relocate identity is to lay the weary costume at the foot of the presence and to hear within, I am thy life, I am thy wisdom, I am thy peace. Well, can I tell God then of my need? No. For the I knows the need before it is upon your lips and has already made provision. Before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. Prayer is not informing the infinite. Prayer is returning to I, God, 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 the only power of the universe. Only power. If God is the only power, what is there for me to move by effort? Nothing. Only this, to abide, to acknowledge, to be still and know. Listen again. Say softly, I. Let that name be not yours alone, but the name above names breathing you. Feel the center loosen from the forehead to the heart. The anxious self steps back. The witnessing I stands forth. Here and now, it whispers with everlasting gentleness, I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Not later, now, not if you improve, now, not as a far-off rescue, but as the very fabric of awareness in which you hear these words. And so, beloved, we turn from outer seeking to inner fact. We cease auditioning for a God out there, and we rest in the God I hear. The boat is not directionless. The I within goes before you to make the crooked places straight. Keep your mind stayed on God and watch the me loosen its grip. Identity has moved quietly, irrevocably, from a striving personality to the indwelling presence that neither hurries nor strains. From that I, and only from that I, the works appear. Now, having turned from the me to the I, let us look plainly at the engine that kept the me running. The law of cause and effect, as human belief understands it, push to get, plan to be safe, compute to be wise, suffer to be worthy. Beloved, that is not the law in the kingdom. Grace is the law in the kingdom. And grace is not a helper for our strain. Grace replaces it. Grace is a state of awareness in which God is recognized as the only power, only when the mind rests in God as the one, the machinery of pushing, bargaining, and earning falls silent, and the works appear without the whip of self-effort. For he performeth the thing that is appointed for me. He performeth, not my anxious hand, but the indwelling I. Do you see the difference? Human law says, if you do enough, you will have enough. Divine grace says, be still and know, and you will find that enough has been with you from the beginning. Human law stacks hours, hacks, and spreadsheets like a Tower of Babel, hoping to reach security. Grace whispers, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. In grace, activity continues, of course it does, but it is no longer propulsion, it is expression. It is the Father within doeth the works, and so plans that used to take 3 days of strain arise in 10 quiet minutes with a light upon them and no residue of fatigue. Yes, isn't that wonderful? Well, can grace be trusted with supply, with guidance, with healing? The old mind asks for a contract. Scripture gives a promise. Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask him. Another promise, I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. These are not poetic consolations. They are descriptions of how life functions when the only power is acknowledged. In this awareness, appearances that once claimed authority, fear, lack, even the heavy arithmetic of karmic debts lose their voice. There is no enchantment against Jacob, no law to bind the one who abides in the eye. Perfect love casteth out fear. When grace is realized, so-called opposing laws fade like night lamps at sunrise. They had their power from our believing, withdraw our faith and reliance, and they are as snakes and pink elephants, seen, felt, frightened of, but unreal to spirit. Let us prove this, not by argument, but by practice. Close the inner door now. God, 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 the only power of the universe. Only power. Be still and know. Say within, I in the midst of me is mighty. Then listen. Speak, Lord. Thy servant heareth. Do not bargain, do not outline. Rest the thought in that holy name, and let silence complete the sentence. In a moment, perhaps with a soft click, perhaps with a weight slipping from the chest, you will know that you are carried. From that knowing, action comes unforced. An email to send, a word to refrain from, a number that appears without searching. Do you see? Productivity is not abolished, it is transfigured. It ceases to be a ladder to God and becomes the river by which God flows. And remember this assurance as you step back into your day. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. If I is with thee, what rival power remains? None, only power. Therefore never look for results under the old law. Do not count, compare, or coerce. Abide, acknowledge, be still, and know. Grace is present, not approaching. And when you rest in that, life harmonizes of itself, because the one who performeth is already here, nearer than hands and feet, closer than breathing, living, its effortless order as you. Now we make it very simple, because the way is simple when the one does the works. Rest arrives not by more words about truth, but by the hush in which the presence that is truth announces itself. Two movements only, contemplation and listening. First, the gentle placing of the mind upon God. Second, the surrender of speech to a quiet, receptive heart. Be still and know that I am God. Part 1. Softly, without strain, with no effort to convince, we say within, God, God, God. Not as a charm, not as a plea, but as recognition, God, the only power of the universe. Only power. Again, God. Then, I in the midst of me am mighty. Say it, and then let it stand. Be still and know that I am God. These are not bricks to build a tower. They are openings through which the imprisoned splendor escapes. A few clear statements, spoken as one might light a candle. No pushing at the wick, simply the flame appearing. As you speak, let the body agree. Relax the forehead. You do not have to lift the sun with your brows at dawn. Let the tongue rest heavy in the mouth. It has carried enough speeches. Allow the breath to unforce itself like a tide that knows its shore. Lay the bundle at the door, your patient, your condition, your plan, your timetable, and come in empty-handed. Take no thought for your life, only thought for God. God, God. God, part 2. Now we cease speaking. We do not explain, we do not argue, we do not outline what we would like God to do. We turn attention inward and wait, alert and unanxious. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Just that, a listening attitude. If the mind wanders, we do not scold. We return as one returns to a beloved's voice. Listen, listen, not for words necessarily, but for that subtle inward consent by which the soul knows it is held. Often there will come a small sign not to be chased, not to be manufactured, a soft click in the chest, a looseness behind the eyes, a warmth spreading like morning, a widening as if the room grew larger, though nothing moved. If it comes, behold it. If it does not, behold that. The point is not sensation. The point is recognition. He leadeth me beside the still waters. We are beside them now. Now hear the rule that keeps you free. Never look for results. Do not peak. Do not measure. Do not time the sprout. Grace announces itself on its own terms and in its own timing, for he performeth the thing that is appointed for me. Our part is faithfulness to the turn, contemplate, then listen, leaving the harvest to the Lord of the harvest. Keep thy mind stayed on God and leave everything else outside the door. In this simple practice, God, God, God. Be still. Listen, you will find the weary engines wind down of themselves. The eye within you goes before you, and the crooked places straighten without the whip of self-effort. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Nearer than hands and feet, closer than breathing, the presence lives, its effortless order as you. Be still and know. Then do nothing until the doing arises of itself. Now we bring it down to the hour hand and the heartbeat, because presence is for Tuesdays as well as temples. Short, faithful turns, repeated, retrained life from push to flow. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Not stayed once a year, not stayed when it is convenient stayed. So we adopt resets that fit the seams of an ordinary day and let them braid a life of quiet power. First, the 3-0. Second reset, the between tasks doorway. You do not need a chair or a chapel. You need one honest breath. Pause where you are. Soften the shoulders. Whisper within, God, God, God. God, the only power of the universe. Only power. Then feel, for I here closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. Be still for 2 beats, not to get anything, not to correct anything, only to acknowledge 2 beats. Be still and know that I am God. Then return to your task without commentary, without peeking for results. Leave the patient and the condition at the door. Keep the mind stayed on God. Each small bow retrains the nerves from hurry to holiness. You will find, almost shyly, that the next action comes cleaner, lighter, because the I within you goes before you to make the crooked places straight. When anxiety spikes, take a 3-minute, reset the little Sabbath in the storm. Minute 1, statements. Quietly, steadily, as recognition and not persuasion. God, God, God. I in the midst of me am mighty, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. The Father within me, he doeth the works. Let those words be lamps, not levers. Minute 2, listening. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. No outlining, no complaint, just the ear of the heart turned inward. Minute 3, silent beholding. Become only a witness. Behold that God is, and besides him there is none else. Do not pick up the condition. Drop the patient and the condition. He performeth that which is appointed for me. Rise and move as you are led, or do not move at all. In either case you are carried. Then the 7-minute deep reset. Your morning and evening bookends. The day bows at its gates and is consecrated. 3 minutes, contemplation. God, God, God. Be still and know that I am God. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. I go before thee. Say these as one lights candles, quietly, reverently. 3 minutes listening. No words now, only the listening attitude. Let the imprisoned splendor find its opening. If a soft click comes, behold it. If nothing comes, behold that. 1 minute gratitude and release. Thank thee, Father, that thy grace is sufficient. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory Now release all outcomes. Never look for results. Let grace schedule its own unveiling. Do not attempt heroics with practice. Once or twice a day becomes 3 times a day, and then, well, you are joyfully hooked. You will find the hand going to the inner door without being told, the breath remembering God. And as these resets multiply, life synchronizes around the still center. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Short, faithful turns to presence. Repeated, retrain life from push to flow until the old engines are not merely quieter, they are unnecessary. I, in the midst of you, am mighty. Keep thy mind stayed on God and walk on. Now we come to the tender art that seals all we have learned, from fixing to witnessing, from wrestling with shadows to beholding the light. Scripture instructs, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. And again, God is of purer eyes than to behold iniquity. If God is too pure to behold it, then in the one there is nothing of iniquity to behold. What then are the fears and symptoms, the forecasts and headlines, appearances, claims, suggestions, temptations in human thought, without law, without substance in God, God the only power of the universe? Only power. Consider the child in a dim room who cries, a snake, until a parent brings the lamp and shows a coiled rope. The cry was honest, the snake was not. Or think of the drunk who sees pink elephants and fears them truly. Sobriety does not fight elephants, it dissolves the vision. So with the unillumined mind, it sees and then fears its own pictures. But light dissolves. The holding is light. When you behold from the eye that is God within, I in the midst of you am mighty, the apparition loosens and disappears, not because you fought it, but because you stood in that which never knew it. Well, are we to deny what the senses scream? No. We are to rise above the level of their report and behold from the secret place. Be still and know. Become only a beholder. Do not wrestle shadows. Do not convince, coerce, or outline. Hold to I as the only power. Keep your mind stayed on God. And here is the holy discipline that keeps the vision clear. Drop the patient and the condition. Lay down the label, the diagnosis, the forecast, even the name that clings to the tail. Call no man after the flesh. Let the divine identity whole, unfragmented, God being, itself outshine the mask in the light of what is, what never was, fades like mist at dawn. Some will ask, how do I behold when the alarm is ringing? As we have learned, close the inner door. God, God, God. Say it as recognition, not as magic, only power. Then I in the midst of me am mighty. Then silence. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. In that listening you are not a fixer, you are a witness. Behind the eyes, a great gentleness opens, sometimes a soft click, sometimes only a wideness, and you know that. Reality is present, performing what is appointed. He performeth the thing that is appointed for me. From that knowing, you may be moved to act or to wait. Either way, you are carried. Never look for results. The beholding is the healing climate. Righteous judgment, seeing as God sees, restores order without a fight. For in God there is no disorder to correct. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. Our part is to abide as witness, to stand in the light and refuse to argue with shadows. Judge not the appearance, behold the reality. And watch quietly as the untrue loosens and disappears, while the true, which was always here, comes into view as effortlessly as sunrise over the waters. Be still and know. Now, because truth is not a philosophy but a living way, Let me tell you how the quiet works when we give it first place. One of our friends, a young man with a deadline and three voices urging haste, had an offer before him that looked golden by the world's arithmetic. His fingers were on the send key. Then no trumpet, no lightning, just the gentlest inner arrest. Wait, be still. He set the laptop lid down as one might close the lid of a piano and walked once around the block whispering, God, 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 only power. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. He returned, not to dart forward, but to listen. Within the hour, a message arrived from an old client, opening a path that required no compromise and brought twice the fruit with half the labor. He later smiled. All I did was not do for a moment. No, beloved, he did more. He let the I within go before him. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet. Action followed listening, and the works appeared without strain. Another, a quiet mother in a small apartment, found the cupboard thin and the rent bell loud. She had sharpened her resume, drafted an appeal, and felt the old push knot in her throat. Then she remembered, dropped the patient and the condition. She set both papers aside and entered the 3-minute reset. Minute 1, God, God, God. The Father within me, he doeth the works. Minute 2, silence. Speak, Lord. Minute 3, beholding thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. She did not campaign. She did not count. Before dusk, a neighbor moved by no visible cause knocked with an envelope and an invitation, a temporary bookkeeping post that became stable supply. Before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. We are not playing at verses, we are watching grace replace law. When reliance shifts inward, provision meets you at the door, it has always waited behind. And there was a sleepless night, perhaps you know its tread, when a man awakened at 3 with the heart drumming and the breath small. The body cried, fix me. The mind rushed to techniques. He remembered instead, closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. He lay his hand lightly upon the chest, not to command, but to recognize, God, 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 I in the midst of me am mighty. Be still and know that I am God. He waited. A warmth rose like dawn under a winter window. The breath found itself. The drum quieted. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He slept not because he controlled the tide, but because he consented to be carried on it. Do you see the pattern? In each case, listening became first, and doing became effortless. Not might, not maneuver, but it is the Father within me, he doeth the works. We did not outline results, we opened a way for the imprisoned splendor to escape. Then the email writes itself, the door knocks, the heartbeat remembers Eden. Never look for results. Keep thy mind stayed on God, and say, even now, so it marks the soul. I within me go before me to make the crooked places straight. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. God, the only power of the universe, only power. And the works simply appear. Now we come to a holy courage, the courage that looks kindly at the crutches and then lays them down. Let us name them so there is no fog about the altar. Approval, the smile that says you are safe. Schedules and plans, the grid that promises tomorrow if you obey it. Possessions and balances, the numbers that pretend to be substance. Even, yes, a distant God out there to be signaled by emergencies and persuaded by correct phrases. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. God, the only power of the universe. Only power. Freedom begins the moment we withdraw our faith and reliance from these externals and return it to the indwelling I that never leaves. I in the midst of you am mighty, not above the clouds, not beyond the stars. Here, closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. You need no permission from calendars, no loan from applause, no forecast from fear. To rest in that, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. So let reliance be recentered now. Say within softly, I, and feel for the unhurried, one that does the works. He performeth that which is appointed for me. Well, what does courage look like on a Tuesday? It looks like doing the next right thing without bargaining. You do not trade obedience for outcomes. You do not say, if the email arrives, then I will trust. No, you trust, and then if an email is needed, it is given you in the hour you need it. Take no thought for your life. Refuse fear's timelines. Answer by noon or be ruined. Decide by Friday or be forgotten. Be still and know. If there is a step, it will arise in the quiet. Send the one line, make the one call, wash the one cup, or be content to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Never look for results. Keep thy mind stayed on God. This is not indolence, it is consecrated reliance. Activity continues, oh yes, but the whip is gone. The inner hand is open, not clenched. We practice the ethic of non-anxiety by staying with the day that is given. Take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Today, listen. Today, abide. Today, let I within go before you to make the crooked places straight. If the mind begins to clutch at props, we recognize it and return. God, 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 speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Drop the patient and the condition, only power. But is it safe to live so? Hear the promise. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, and through the rivers they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned. Through, not around. Presence sustains in passing. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. If thou art with me, what rival remains? None, only power. Therefore, we withdraw reliance gently, steadily from people, plans, possessions, and a far-off deity. We anchor it in the I here, and as reliance shifts, a strange ease appears. Outcome stops shouting, time loosens its grip, and grace arranges what law could only attempt. Be still and know. Then walk unhurried in the courage of rest. Now we gather these threads into a day, not as tasks to perform, but as a trellis on which grace may climb. A non-striving day is not empty of action. It is empty of push. Sabbath becomes a mode, not a date on the calendar, a quiet center you carry into errands, emails, and conversations. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Make listening your default posture, and life synchronizes around the still center. At the gate of morning, offer the 7-minute deep reset before the world speaks its headlines. 3 minutes contemplation. God, 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 the only power of the universe, only power. Be still and know that I am God. I, in the midst of me, am mighty. 3 minutes listening. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. No outlining, no bargaining, only the inner ear turned toward the hush in which the Father within doeth the works. 1 minute gratitude and release. Thank thee, Father, that thou hast gone before me to make the crooked places straight. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Never look for results. Rise when the click comes or when it doesn't, with the surety of he performeth the thing that is appointed for me. At midday, weave a 3-minute Sabbath into the seam, where morning hands the baton to afternoon. Tie it to a cue before the call, after the meeting, at the doorway. Minute 1, recognition. God, God, God. Only power. The Father within me, he doeth the works. Minute 2, listening. Speak, Lord. Minute 3, beholding. Become only a witness. Drop the patient and the condition. Then move, or do not move, as you are led. Measure nothing. Notice only whether you remember to listen. In the evening, return to the 7-minute bookend. Let the day fold itself into God. 3 minutes contemplation, 3 listening, 1 gratitude and release. Review nothing, score nothing. Ask but one question of the heart. Did I remember the inner turn? If so, give thanks. If not, smile and give thanks that grace is now. This is the rest wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest. Lay the unmet lists at the feet of I. Be still and know. Between these anchors, let cues become bells. Doorways are altars. Pause a breath before you cross. Put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. Before you open a browser tab, open the inner door. God, God, God. After you send the message, rest 1 beat in silence. Let the kettle, the elevator, the red light, the meeting agenda become priests that lift your chin toward the one. And do not keep this song to yourself. Once a day, invite your household or your team to 1 shared minute. Stand together, God, 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 only power, then silence. Where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. I in the midst of you am mighty. Do not discuss results. Let peace be the only feedback. You will find tempers softening, timing easing, clarity arising where pressure once reigned, not by might, not by power, but by my spirit. Thus the day is designed without strain. Morning, midday, evening, cues as bells, Sabbath as mode. Keep thy mind stayed on God. Make listening your default posture, and life harmonizes of itself around the still center that never moves. Beloved, we have come to the gate of going forth, not as ones newly burdened with methods, but as ones newly unburdened into grace. Hear the name that formed you before the worlds. I am that I am. Before Abraham was, I am. I, in the midst of you, am mighty present, sufficient, unhurried, nearer than hands and feet, closer than breathing. This I is your center, your life, your wisdom, your supply. The Father within me, he doeth the works. Now, could you just here close your eyes, say softly, within I, no adjective, no story, just I. Let the breath remember its ease. Inhale as if the Spirit itself were your air. Exhale as if the whole world was safely held. And listen. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Do not outline. Do not ask. Be still and know that I am God. Feel for the faint consent, the soft click, the widening that says, I am here. Yes. Isn't that wonderful? As you rise from this moment and from every moment hereafter, take with you a simple counsel that keeps you free. Never look for results. Be a beholder. Judge not according to the appearance. Keep thy mind stayed on God. Let the works appear by grace, for not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Your part is the inner turn, recognition, and listening, repeated, faithful, gentle, God, God, God. Only power, then silence, then the natural step or the natural rest. The I within you goes before you to make the crooked places straight. Hear the promise sealed upon your forehead and upon your night. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Tonight, tomorrow, always. Lo, I am with you always. even unto the end of the world. When thou passest through the waters, I am with thee. Through the fire thou art not burned. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. If I is with thee, what rival remains? None. Only power. Therefore be of good cheer, be still. Let grace be grace. And when the mind forgets, as minds practice forgetting, return to the simplest reset. Close your eyes if you can. If not, close them behind the eyes. Say, I breathe. Listen. Speak, Lord, thy servant heareth. Drop the patient and the condition. Become only a beholder. Whisper the mantra that aligns heaven and earth. The Christ does not strive, it rests, and the works appear. Again, the Christ does not strive, it rests, and the works appear. Replay this whenever you need the reset, and the river will find its bed. Now go forth, not as a striver, but as the rested presence through which grace effortlessly appears. Walk softly, speak truthfully, move only as you are led. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He leadeth me beside the still waters. Keep thy mind stayed on God. I in the midst of you am mighty, and the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, keep your heart and mind in this, I, now, and forevermore. Amen.